All right, guys, this week for Weapons Wednesday, we're going to do something very different. This is going to be a live feed. And what we're doing is every week we get in all kinds of new weapons that people send us samples of. So we're supposed to test them out, see if they're any good, see if it's something we want to sell. So the name of this video is the weapon good or garbage? So what you're going to do is we're going to show off a bunch of weapons. We're going to test them out. I want you to tell me how you want me to test them. I've got this pellet over here. I've got our trusty Wing Chun dummy. I've even got concrete there. So you guys got to tell me how you want me to test them. And then you have to decide on each weapon. You go to the community tab, you vote. Should we carry this weapon or should we not? Is it good or is it complete garbage? And what's funny about this is Amanda and I look at all these different weapons every week that we order samples of and just test out. Now, these specific weapons Amanda is bringing to me because she is just not sure. So you guys actually have to make the decision on this one. So I'm pretty excited about this. I think this will be a lot of fun. And another thing I want to add too is if you're a weapons manufacturer, if you're someone who makes knives at home, and you think that you'd like to sell your stuff on KarateMart.com or on Combative.com, definitely hit us up because we're always looking for new people who have weapons that we can sell on our site. And we love working with the smaller companies because they just seem to be a little more personal and they come up with some really creative ideas. So definitely hit us up if that's you. But without further ado, how about we go with the very first weapon and see what you guys think. So Melanie, hand me the very first weapon.
There you go.
All right, let's see what this guy is. Okay, I love this kind of video because these are the kind of weapons that we get that are just kind of more bizarre than other weapons. And it's very hard to decide whether we want to carry them or not. So, all right, our very first weapon is the Dark Combat Trench Knife. Ooh, I love trench knives. I absolutely love trench knives. So let's check this guy out. That's pretty neat. I like that. So first off, we can see that it has an actual genuine leather sheath on there. And that's interesting too. Like, look how it's got this kind of design here. That's not a normal leather sheath. I like that. It's got a belt loop on it. It's going to look nice on the side of our body. And that's actually good quality leather. So there's a +1 on this one. But guys, don't vote yet. We've got to look at the bads and the goods, and we're going to be really super critical on this video because that's how I am when we're deciding what we want to actually sell. So cool sheath. Let's look at the knife though. All right, here we go. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Now that is clearly a trench knife. I love some things about this. I'm already seeing some things I don't like about this. So, yeah, let's just take it one by one. First off, thing I don't like. It's made out of a 440 stainless steel. I'm not a huge fan of 440 stainless steel. One thing that's nice about it is it does keep the knives a little less expensive because if this was made out of like a D2 steel or some other really good quality steel, it would be so much more expensive. This knife would be in the $300-400 range for sure. So by being stainless steel or a 3CR13, it's going to keep it a lot less expensive. The manufacturer's suggested retail price on this is $56.95. $56.95. Seems a little pricey to me. You guys have to decide. It is 440 stainless steel, but it has that black finish on it. Nice thing about 440 stainless steel is that it is corrosion resistant and it sharpens really easily. Some of the negatives about it is it's going to dull really easily and it's not as hard as some of the other steels, so it can break. Now, when I used to do like a lot of survival training back in the day, there weren't a lot of knives to choose from. So I would go out in the middle of the woods and I would just have a standard stainless steel blade and it held up beautiful for me for many, many years. So I'm not as big of a, like, I hate to say knife snob as a lot of people are because I have been able to survive with a cheaper knife. So don't just discount this just because it's 440 stainless steel. It actually seems like it's a thick enough stainless steel that that's going to hold up for you just fine. The other thing I really like about this is it has a really nice pack of wood handle on it. And pack of wood is kind of cool. It's not just normal wood. A lot of people just see pack of wood and they're like, oh, that's just some sort of cheap wood. But that's not the case at all. Pack of wood is actually a composite wood that's made out of a wood that's been impregnated by a resin. So it actually makes it a lot more hard, makes it a lot more comfortable. And then it actually makes it more weather resistant. So that's going to be more water resistant. That's going to hold up really well in an environment that's outdoors. So I like that. We can see that it's full tang there. It's interesting though. The full tang design on this is a little bit interesting. You can see that the black finish kind of stopped there. We can see that it goes through. I would have preferred them to get that to be a black finish also, but my guess in the way that they made this is they put on the pack of wood handle and then they just kind of ground that area there to just get it nice and smooth, which makes sense. I still would have thrown another black finish on there just to clean it up, make it a little more finished product. So that's cool. I'm also noticing the spike on the end here. That's pretty neat. I like seeing that. You could use it as a glass breaker. We could use that for defensive purposes. We're definitely going to have to test that out a little bit. I love when I see spikes on the end there. But this handle's on there very solid. So that's nice. Guys, what kind of blade shape is this? Anyone know? I mean, this is an easy one. Just seeing if anyone could jump in on this. Super easy blade shape.
No one?
No one yet? All right. This is a clear clip point right here. So that's a good, I love clip point blades. I have a few favorite styles when it comes to blades. I like clip points a lot because they're really good for stabbing, slicing. It's just an excellent blade shape all around. I would say when it comes to like the most basic blade shapes that are good for a majority of activities, I prefer a clip point or I prefer a drop point.
I said, I got Bowie knife and sharp blade, question mark.
Is it a sharp blade? Oh yeah, that is absolutely a sharp blade. And the tip is very sharp. We're going to test all that stuff out for sure. And then obviously it's a trench knife. So we've got the knuckle portion of this. Now let's just stick my hands in there. Okay, here's the very first big problem I see with this knife. It is not comfortable. My hand is in here like, this thing is huge. These knuckles need to be closer. So you can see how my pinky's getting pulled in right there. I feel like if I'm going to use this as a knuckle portion, that's going to hurt my hand because I have big hands and you'd need enormous hands for this to be really comfortable. But let's try it in reverse grip as well. Okay, in reverse grip, it's a little more comfortable. And what's kind of nice is I can use that spike up there as kind of my thumb rise, just kind of hold on up there, which is kind of nice. I like that, but it's still not overly comfortable. Look how much it spreads my fingers there. And that can be a problem if you actually had to use this in a combat situation. It could break your fingers very easily. So I don't really like that aspect of it. But it is nice in the respect that it is a knife that people with big hands are really going to enjoy. So that's pretty neat. You definitely couldn't use this as a knuckle duster in a swiping method just because it spreads your fingers too much. You're going to hurt yourself. So you would have to use it in the fist method if you're going to use the knuckle action portion of it. So yeah, and then we can see we also have a double-sided fuller on there.
James Harrington said, not a knife I would put into reverse grip personally.
Yeah. Hey, James, how you doing, bud? And for those of you who don't know, James Harrington actually has a really cool YouTube channel where he also reviews knives, and it's really good. I mean, it's really impressive because he's only been doing it for a couple of months, and you should see how good this kid is already. It's very, very impressive. So check out James Harrington's YouTube channel. Very cool guy, very nice, and a good martial artist too. He's been training forever, so that's pretty neat. I can't think of much more to tell you about this specific knife, so let's test this thing out. First off, I want to see sharpness before we start destroying this blade. So I've got this. This is a super heavyweight karate uniform, so this is really thick fabric here. This is actually, I think, 14 or 15 ounce fabric. So let's just hang this guy up here.
And guys, we also have a few other stuff. So if you want to test it out in a different way, definitely just let us know.
Yeah. I'd love to really test this stuff out because we want to know if we actually want to sell this stuff or not. That's the whole point of this video. So let's just test the tip of the blade first. And that did pretty well. I mean, it's definitely a sharp tip. Let's try. Okay, so I just sliced in that section. It did slice just fine on the blade itself. So they did a really good job sharpening this, actually. It is a very thick hollow grind on there. So, I mean, decent. The knife overall, I really like the design of this knife. I think it's a really interesting design. Let's test out the spike here. I want to see how good the spike is. You know, I'm not worried about that spike breaking on us. What I'm worried about is my hand going to break or hurt by using this spike? So let's actually, I've got this concrete right here.
So Beyond said, rest in peace, that gi. And James Harrington said, what that gi ever do to you?
Oh man, okay. I'm actually going to throw on some safety glasses for this because this is actual, I mean, this is a concrete block right here. So let's just see if this breaks my hand. Let's hope not, because I want to continue doing these videos. So here we go. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the spike's still just fine. And that's one of the nice features about these spikes is you can use them for defensive purposes as well. Sometimes you don't want to stab. Sometimes it's better to use those, you know, for other purposes as well. So I do love that spike. I think it's awesome. So that's pretty cool. The knuckle portion, we've got to test the knuckle portion. That actually didn't hurt my hand. By using that spike, it didn't hurt my hand. That's good to know. I think that by punching with the knuckle portion, it is going to hurt my hand. So let's test that out on the Wing Chun dummy. I'm not going to do it very hard because I really don't want to break my hand in this video. But let's just test it. Yeah, that hurt my hand. That definitely hurt my hand. It's hurting right here. If you can see close, it's hurting right here on my pinky because it's just spreading it too far. So, I mean, they just made that too wide. That's the problem with that. So, yeah. Okay, well, the pole is up. So just on the pole, you'll have one of each weapon. So you'll just say, is this good or is this garbage? And that'll tell us if we actually want to carry this or not.
Mark said if you had a string wrap, it would, for the knuckles, it might make it a little better, but.
Like string wrap around the knuckles here.
Like paracord.
I could see that. They are big enough that you could actually do that with. I mean, I still have a little bit of room in there now that there's all that blood on the knuckle, which is which is awesome. So yeah, that's actually a great idea, Mark. But I don't know. I'm a little undecided on this thing. I could see how some people would really like it because you can tell it's a well-made knife. Just it's not designed perfectly for people with normal sized hands. So
Ihan said, do knuckle push-ups.
now that they're all bloody. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this one away unless you guys have any more questions on it. And let's move on to the next weapon. Oh, I should probably tell you the overall length is 16.5 inches. The blade length is about 10 inches, and it weighs about 1 pound, 3 ounces. It's a little heavy, but even when I do this, it's hurting in my pinky, which I don't like very much. And as James says, it's probably not the best knife for reverse grip. I mean, let's see. I have pretty good control with reverse grip in that, so I don't know. It could be used in reverse grip, but it's a little big for reverse grip, honestly. But yeah, we'll put that one away and move on to our next weapon. So
that sheath is pretty cool, though.
The sheath is probably my favorite part. The sheath and the pack of wood. I think the pack of wood's really good on this. So that's pretty neat. All right, let's put that away. And Melanie, what is our next weapon today?
Right.
And then you guys can go to the community tab and vote on that one whenever you're ready. But here is our next weapon. All right, and our next weapon is the Night Reaper hand scythe. Okay, interesting. And the manufacturer's suggested retail price of this is $23.95. So keep that in mind when we're planning on carrying this. Okay, so first off, that is a heavy-duty nylon sheath. I like that. That's pretty nice. You can tell this is one of those weirdly designed kind of fantasy weapons. Sometimes they're cool though. Okay, check that out. Should really not show all my bloody knuckles on here. Yeah, so that's kind of neat. I like the ring on the pommel. I always like the ring on the pommel, but that ring looks a little small. And then the other problem with that is it looks small and it's got the wrapping through it, which I like the wrapping through it, but that definitely makes the ring small, even smaller for my fingers. So I'm not sure how well that's going to work. Let's look at this. All right, so first off, it's made from a 3CR13 stainless steel, which I know you guys all hate 3CR13 stainless steel. I agree, I'm not a big fan of it, but it allows it to be an inexpensive weapon. Because if this was any other sort of type of steel, a D2, an AUS, it would be very, very expensive. I mean, I could see this being at least $70, you know, being D2 at least. So, yeah, it's got to be 3CR, especially for a fantasy weapon like this. This is Mall Ninja for sure. Okay, so let's look at the details on it. We see that it's got a stonewash finish. I like stonewash finishes because it does hide a lot of the imperfections. And then when we start to destroy this thing, you won't see the little markings very much because the stonewash is just good at hiding that stuff. Now, how do we hold this thing? All right, do we put our finger in there? We put our pinky in there. Yeah, okay, so this seems like the best way to hold it in forward grip. We've got our pinky in the ring on the pommel. Feels pretty comfortable. My whole hand goes around the cord, which that is full out paracord. I normally am not a big fan of cord wrapped handles, but this is actual paracord. And I like seeing paracord instead of just standard nylon cord because if worst comes to worst, we can always take that off and use that for survival purposes. I don't know if you saw that video where I took apart the paracord. It's got those little inner strands where you can use them for fishing and things, which is really nice. But in forward grip, we've got this jimping up here, which is nice. Here is a big problem with this weapon, and this is something you guys really need to pay attention to as to whether we carry this or not. I've got this jimping up here. Let's say I were to do some sort of hook or try to slice with this false edge up here or something. My finger could very easily slide up and hit this blade right here. This is a fully sharpened blade on the butt of the comma. So that would easily just cut my finger really, really bad. I don't like that. I really don't like that. Normally I say sharpen different areas of a weapon up. This I would actually completely unsharpen. I can see this little spike being sharp, but not this. I think it's a terrible idea. My finger could easily slide up and hit that. Not a good idea at all. It's actually extremely sharp, so that's nice. Very sharp tip as well, so that's nice. Let's flip this upside down and try it in a reverse grip. Okay, so here's a problem. That hole is approximately a 7/8 inch ring. When I'm looking at rings on pommel, I want them to be at least 1 inch because that fits the majority of people's hands. 7/8 inches, I can get my finger in there, but I had to really push it through, and then that cord keeps it from going very far. Let's see if we can actually go out to extended grip. Not very well. I mean, okay, kind of. It's just too tight. So not very well, but once you have it in an extended grip, you actually have really good control because this here keeps it in extended grip. So I could do a good hook with it. I could actually, you know, if I wanted to, I could actually do that. But it's going to be a good hooking blade, all because I've got this control right in there, which is really nice. But that's only going to work for people with small hands. So when you're voting for this item, just remember, it's only going to work for people with small hands because I can't even get my finger out now, my poor bloody finger. There's not a lot else to say about it. It weighs approximately 4.8 ounces, so that's very light. But I think we need to test it out. The overall length is 7.5 inches. The head length is approximately 6.5 inches. The blade length is about 3 1/8 inches. So how do we want to test this thing? Let's see. First off, let's just see how sharp it is. Yeah, let's see how sharp it is on the fabric first. Talon style blades don't really work very well on slicing fabric, but we'll just test that out.
Gary Pryor says, sounds like a piece of junk.
Okay, there. I mean, it did slice pretty well, so that's decent. You know, I actually have to agree with them. It's cheap. I like the fact that it's cheap. I like the fact that it is a fantasy weapon that would look good on a wall. And I can see a lot of people who collect fantasy weapons really liking this. But as far as a legitimate weapon goes, this is going to only probably get you hurt, to be completely honest.
Daniel said try chopping it on the Wing Chun dummy's arm.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Try chopping it on like this part here, or sticking it. Let's see.
Wayne, I would agree too. Probably not so much either. There is the poll, guys. So if you are interested, then I would definitely say go and vote for him. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see the community poll where everyone just votes yes, carry this stuff, even if you don't like it. I'd rather see people put negative comments so that we know not to carry this. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're voting. But let's go ahead and put this away. Again, this is called the Night Reaper Hand Scythe. And it's going, the manufacturer's suggested retail price is $23.95 on it. So let's go ahead and put that away. I would agree. If it had a larger handle, it actually might be a good weapon, but it's too small.
Yeah, exactly. All right, on to the next weapon. Okay, so that's that comes with it too, huh?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so first off, whatever I've got next comes with this stand, and okay, so I see a biohazard sign on the stand. So what does that tell you guys if we see a biohazard sign on the stand? To me, that screams Mall Ninja. So we'll see what this thing is. I actually like the stand though. I like that we've got some red velvet up here. I think that's kind of nice. That will keep the sword looking nice without scratching. So
thanks, Daniel. New to our channel.
Oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Daniel. So yeah, the stand is actually cool other than this action up here. Biohazard sign I don't really need on my blades. Let's see what this thing is.
There you go.
SS4130 said, all right, we got blood. Now it's a party.
Oh yeah. Now, there's been blood since the very first weapon.
And then behind, there's 3 more weapons left. This is the 3rd. Zombie Slayer sword, little Mall Ninja.
I really don't think a week goes by that I don't have some major cut or bruise or something here. It's just part of the fun of being a martial artist. Okay, so look at this guy. This is interesting. Okay, I'm going to set that on the stand while I get the name of the product.
100% looks like a Mall Ninja sword.
It does look like a Mall Ninja sword. But sometimes Mall Ninja stuff is cool. It's not my favorite typically, but okay, so this sword is called the Distopian Chisel Point Sword. Oh, okay, I kind of like that. I like chisel point weapons. I think they're fun. We did a Nada probably about 3 months ago that had a chisel point on it. In fact, I think James Harrington bought one of them, and I do love that. But let's check this sucker out. So first off, we can see the scabbard has all these kind of symbols on it, these kind of inscriptions on them. I don't know how many of you guys are big movie fans. I'm a big movie nerd, huge movie nerd. And there was a movie that came out in, I think it was 2006, and it wasn't very popular, but it was a sci-fi movie, and this is a sword that's inspired by that movie. So can any of you guys pick out what movie this is actually from? I'm very curious if any of you guys know. 2006 sci-fi movie, it's inspired by that. It's a unique looking sword, I'll give it that.
James Harrington says he has it and enjoy it, and there's also a couple people saying palette test for sure.
Okay, absolute palette test. Yeah, there's a few things I'd like to see on this. Okay, so here's the blade. Yeah, there is that chisel point blade. I actually kind of like that. I think it's kind of neat. It's actually sharp down there on the chisel, so I do like that aspect of it. The blade itself is sharp, but not sharpened properly. So you can see I'm squeezing my hand on this pretty hard, and that's not cutting me. So that's telling you that's not a very sharp blade, which is clearly telling you that this is a wall hanger or a Mall Ninja item. But this is like a collector's piece. So if you're into movies and stuff like I am, it could be cool on a desk or something or hanging on a wall.
It does look pretty cool for that.
Yeah. Now this is made from a 440 stainless steel, which this is retail. The manufacturer's suggested retail price of this is $89.95.
Now at $89.95, you're really not going to get much better than a 440 stainless steel or a 3CR13. You might get a 1045 carbon steel possibly, but if you're looking at fantasy weapons that are typically movie weapons, they're almost always going to be a 440 stainless steel. So that's kind of be expected.
Someone called it. Someone got the movie.
Did they?
Kid Hammer.
What do you say?
Said, looks like the sword Mila Jovovich used in Ultraviolet.
Jovovich, that's correct. Yeah, this is inspired by that. Exactly.
James says, I'd like to think I'm very good at, I think it was swinging swords.
Yeah, oh yeah, James is awesome at swinging swords. So yeah, check out his YouTube channel.
Spinning swords. Sorry, spinning.
You guys very good at that. Down here, this is actually sharp though. So this area where I'm squeezing is not very sharp.
Gary says it's all fun and games until you lose a thumb.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but this is sharp, so that's kind of cool. Nice thing about 440 stainless steel is if you have the proper equipment, and I just want to state that, if you have the proper equipment and some knowledge in sharpening, it's actually really easy to sharpen, but it's also really easy to mess up if you have the wrong equipment. Like if you go and take this to a grinder and just start grinding, it's gonna burn so easily. So you have to have like a nice belt sander, you have to use the right grit. There's a lot of things you have to know, but I could sharpen this sword up beautifully in a matter of minutes. So this doesn't bother me. And it's interesting too how both sides are sharpened, just not sharp enough. So easy to sharpen though, so that'd be kind of neat. I want to see how well this holds up though. One of the major problems with 440 stainless steel is it loses its edge retention very, very quickly, so you do have to sharpen it regularly. I do like that we have these inscriptions in the blade. Now, I've heard people say before, and I don't know how true this is, so maybe you guys can chime in. I've heard people say before that if you find a sword that has inscriptions in the blade, that means that it's called a cursed sword. A sword that actually has a curse on it is either a stronger sword or a cursed sword to where it's a bad sword to hold. So anyone have any knowledge of that? I'm just kind of curious. Yeah, I mean, okay, so then we look at the handle. The handle is made out of wood, and then we can see that we've got a faux leather wrap on it. It's actually really comfortable, and the wood is actually good quality wood. So I do like that aspect of it, and it's comfortable, so that's nice. Here's a big concern of mine though. What is the tang of this blade? Can anyone tell? It's very difficult to tell. I mean, we could take off this wrapping and maybe we'll see some pins in there so we can tell. If we tap on the wood, I can feel it get more dense right here. I can tell right there, you can see how thin it goes. I'm going to guess that it probably goes about a 3/4 tang, would be my guess. I think we should test that out. I actually think we should break this thing apart and see what the tang is. I'd be curious about that. I think that would give you guys a better idea of whether this would be something we want to carry on the site.
It seems like it would be a good bashing weapon.
Yeah, I do. I think even though it's not sharpened right now very well, I think it would be a good bashing weapon. Well, let's see. Is there anything else we need to say about this? Not really. I don't think there's much to say. It weighs approximately 2 pounds 10 ounces. With the scabbard, it weighs about 3 pounds 7.5 ounces. Overall length is 41 inches. That's pretty long, and the blade length is approximately 28.5 inches. The balance is terrible on this sword. Terrible. All the weight is up here, and that does not balance properly at all. So that is kind of a problem. Yeah, let's do some damage with this thing. And you guys got to stay back a little bit because I do not want any of you guys getting shrapnel thrown at you.
Somebody says full bash the Wing Chun dummy.
Full bash Wing Chun, so not the pellet.
I mean, you could do both.
Let's do the Wing Chun
Don't
first.
want it. Someone said someone's gonna bash it and don't want it exploding off the handle.
Yeah, that's such a good point. All right, I'm going to do a baseball bat swing first just to get some good momentum on the side of this thing, and let's just see if it even sticks in.
Moving
So,
as far away as
are you guys-
possible.
you guys good?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, if you need safety glasses too, we got that.
A lot of Japanese from Edo.
Woohoo!
Apparently cursed.
Is it?
Okay.
Okay, so we're right on that. Okay, I mean, I'm a little disappointed that didn't stick in. That's a little disappointing for me. If we hit the top of it, which I'll probably hit the ceiling here, It stuck in nicely on the top, but not as far as a lot of weapons. So with something with this much weight, I feel like what I would have liked to see is I would have liked to see a better steel with a thinner profile to it. If it had a thinner profile, it'd go into the wood a lot further. Oh, wow.
Did you bend it?
I was like,
You
yeah, I
did.
saw that
Holy
too.
cow. Look at that, guys. I bent that steel. I've never bent a steel in that direction before, right in the center.
Wow.
That is nuts.
So obviously, it's not the best bashing weapon.
So this, holy cow. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
let's
Someone
see if
said clearly cursed.
this is a cursed sword. Let's see if we can bend it back the other direction.
Yeah, that is really weird. It's crazy as well.
I've seen things bend the other way. I've never seen something bend like that before. So that is saying, so what that tells me is it wasn't tempered properly either. So
Ah.
let's just, let's hit it right here, see if we can bend it back. Well, we bent it back. Okay, so good as new. That's good. And
Gary's
it didn't really bend. I mean, I could see a slight curve that way, but that's easy to bend back. Now, when you do this, you got to be very careful because stainless steel will just pop on you.
Oh,
So
wow.
you just got to do it lightly. But yeah,
Gary
so
said, "Are you sure it's not made of tinfoil?"
I'm not sure. I don't want to. It's very possible.
If any of you guys are having issues and you guys have Instagram, we are also live on Instagram. I don't know what's going on, just so you know.
Yeah, let's test the chisel point on this thing.
You
Curious about
kibbles.
that. Okay, so see, you can see the chisel point is actually sharp on this thing. So that's kind of cool. That's the one aspect that's kind of cool. So yeah, definitely a wall hanger. Still looks cool though. I think it's cool, but I really want to see what the tang of this is. So let's actually open up this handle and just see what we've got here.
And guys, anyone new, we are taking a poll on these to see if we should actually carry these on our website or if we should pass on them. That is the premise of today, guys.
Okay, so I've got a hammer here. You guys be careful. Don't want anything hitting you. Oh, was I right or what?
3/4 tang.
Holy cow, I was exactly right. That's a 3/4 tang.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep, people said pass and use it like a slapjack.
Yeah.
At least we know the pros and cons.
Yeah, that's cool though. So I mean, I don't know if you guys knew how I tested that, but I just kind of listened. You can often with samurai swords or katanas, you can often just kind of hear where the tang's going to, which nowadays we don't really carry a lot of this type of thing. We try to carry only full tang swords that are actually made a lot better than that. Because swords are very important to have a nice solid blade. Like we carry very, very few stainless steel blade swords. So, all right. Well, I think that's all we need to know about this, unless there's anything else you guys want me to do.
James Harrington said he wouldn't even have it as a wall hanger.
I don't think you would either, James. But
And Gary said, so far, I think you should carry them out to the dumpster.
well played.
Then
Very,
hard
very
pass.
Well played.
Yeah, definite
All right, I'm
pass.
just going to leave that there for now. And let's put that guy away and move on to our next weapon. Okay, what do we got next?
Yep.
Okay. All right, our next weapon is the pull pin panic alarm. Okay, not really a weapon, but it's cool to look at. Okay, yeah, I actually saw this one. I remember when this thing came out, I was not sure whether we should carry it or not. I just wasn't. So this is interesting. We carry a bunch of panic alarms, and I like panic alarms for certain things. Here's what I like most about panic alarms. I know a lot of you guys are thinking, what's the point of a panic alarm? The nice thing about panic alarms is there's no laws around them. You don't have to worry about, in certain states, you don't have to worry about laws. A lot of schools, grade schools, colleges, give them out to their students because it's a good way to gather attention. A problem with a lot of panic alarms is the batteries can run out. They sometimes aren't as reliable. The manufacturer states that this is one of the panic alarms that's not going to have those issues, that this is actually so reliable because of the way that it works. So it's kind of interesting. So it comes with this little keychain. I would personally take this off. It doesn't look like the best keychain in the world. I would just connect it to my normal keychain if I was going to use it.
You can give it to kids, is what Gary said.
Yeah, you can give it to kids. But I actually think they're kind of cool in some respect. I just don't know if this one is cool. Okay, so I took off the little keychain thing here, and what this does is it's kind of like a grenade pin style, to where when you pull this out, it's going to ring, and it looks like this one's 130 decibels, and then it's also got this little 350 lumen light, LED light that strobes as you're using it. So here's how you'd use it. If you'd have to have situational awareness. I can't tell you how important situational awareness is whenever you're in an area you don't understand. So many people are staring at their cell phones and not paying attention to what's going on around them, and that's how you get hurt. But with this, if you noticed someone was coming towards you to attack you, all you would do, you'd pull this out. And for those of you with headphones on, this might be loud. I don't know how loud this is going to be, so take off your earphones. But I'm just going to open this up and let's see how this works. Oh yeah, that's definitely loud. And see how the strobe alarm is going? So what you would do is you'd pull that pin out. You would maybe hang on to it if the attacker was a long ways away, just to see how they react. But really, if they're close, a good thing to do is pull it out, throw it to where they can't see it, or where they can't go and grab it. So it's still ringing and grabbing the attention as you're being attacked. It's actually a very, very useful tool. So this is, out of all the things we've shown off before, or so far in this video, this is probably my favorite, honestly. Some of the things I don't like about it, it's not a rechargeable one. I do like the ones that are more rechargeable. That's nice.
Hey, Michael.
Oh, is Michael on there?
Yep.
Hey, Mike, how you doing, bud? So it's not rechargeable, but you can easily change the batteries. All you have to do when you need to change the batteries is just grab from the bottom and twist the top. It'll open it up, and you just change the batteries out. So that's nice to know. And a lot of the times that actual batteries last a lot longer than rechargeable batteries. So that's pretty nice. It's got a really nice non-slip grip to it too. I do like that aspect of it. One of the things I was kind of concerned about, though, with this guy, and one of the reasons we haven't carried it as of yet, is if I've got this in my pocket, I don't want to get blood all over my pocket, but if I've got this in my pocket and say I'm just pulling out my keys like normal, am I going to actually make this thing go off like every time I pull out my keys and I'm in a parking lot? Let's try it. Okay, so that didn't happen. I don't know, maybe if I have a really tight pocket, let's try this little pocket up here that's usually a little more tight and see if that does it. Okay, it held. So it clearly has enough tension there that it's not going to make it just go off. I actually got to give it a pretty good pull to make that go off. So that's kind of neat. I think that's a pretty cool.
What kind of battery was it?
I don't know. It's just one of those small little like
a watch
batteries. I believe it's 2 of them. But nowadays it's so easy to find batteries on Amazon. You just type in the name and then change them out. But it comes with the 2 batteries that it needs already installed in it, and it seems pretty cool. Here's another thing I'm worried about is I see that it's got this plexiglass on the front, and there's an LED up front. You can see the little LED diode up there, which LEDs are very difficult to break, so I'm not worried so much about that breaking. I am worried about the plexiglass breaking. So I think we should test that out. I think we should throw this at something, get it going, throw it at something, see if it still goes. Because if you're getting attacked and you throw one of these things and it just breaks on you, what's the point in that? So what do you think? Should I throw it at the concrete here?
Probably.
Yeah, let's throw it at the concrete here. Probably be good. Or hammer it. Okay, so again, if you have earphones on, take them off because I'm going to make this thing ring. Okay.
Whoa! Still going.
It did break, but it's still going. Okay. But now that it's broken,
You can't close it.
I can turn it off like this.
Oh.
Boom,
Okay.
right there. But that shows you, so that's how it comes off. The plexiglass did not break. You got some scratches on it. I mean, you're definitely not going to be throwing it against a concrete block, but I still think that came off a little bit easy. Okay, so
It did survive, though.
and we can see the batteries in there. It's got kind of the bigger ones. So it looks like you'd unscrew that screw, and then you can get to 2 of those batteries under there to change them out if you wanted to. So again, that gives you guys something to think about. Okay, I'm going to put this guy away.
Sure. chirp if I ever heard one.
Yeah, so that gives you guys something to think about. Is this something we would carry? The manufacturer's suggested retail price on it is $20.95. I do think that it would work in most situations. I think that that's a pretty tough little thing we did by throwing it at concrete. So,
And I mean, honestly, it still held up and did its job
it
after
still
that.
did its job after that. So.
And Jay said, don't throw it at the sword will break.
Probably.
Oh, we have some funny guys. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put that away, and let's move on to our next item.
We already got a pass on it too.
Okay, I'm very curious what you guys are going to vote on this week. I have this strange feeling that you guys are going to vote no on every single one of these things, which I'm totally fine with. These are ones that Amanda was more critical of, and she wanted me to test them. And we are so critical nowadays of the stuff we put on the site because we just don't want a bunch of junk on there. We want stuff that's actually legitimate. So let's see what this guy is. Okay. Wow.
It is definitely a long fella right there, James.
Okay, so we got a spear.
Guys, if you are having issues on the YouTube channel, they do have an Instagram live.
Okay, so this is called the Stealth Survival Spear. Okay, and the manufacturer's suggested retail price is $84.95 on this. Seems a little pricey for that, but kind of cool. Oh, okay, I see why. So this is actually made from an SK5 steel. I actually really like SK5 steel. It's a high carbon steel that's known for very good edge retention and for very good hardness. The problem with SK5 steel is it's not overly corrosion resistant. It does have some corrosion resistant properties to it, but it's not one of the most corrosion resistant weapons. And when I'm looking at survival weapons like this, I want it to be as corrosion resistant as possible. The other thing that you can say about that, though, is we can see that it has this black oxide finish on it. And when it's got the black oxide finish, that actually helps with the corrosion resistance as well. So it's probably just fine as far as that goes, but SK5 is definitely a step up on steels.
Our YouTube channel is just karatemark.com or Karate Mark, guys, if you need to go to the link for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, okay, so if we look at this, we can first see that it's got a very heavy-duty nylon sheath. That is a heavy-duty nylon sheath. And some people have asked me what I consider to be heavy-duty. That's actually a really good question. So this, like, it's hard to squeeze that thing. You can tell that this is very heavy duty in the respect that the blade is not just going to stick through the end. Where you guys have all seen those cheap nylon sheaths that come with a lot of the stainless steel weapons where the blades will just stick through them, and I do not like those at all. All right, so we can see that we've got a nylon fiber center. I love nylon fiber. I think it's good. Now, I just want to preface that with there are good and bad nylon fibers out there. If it's made correctly, if they use the right amount of fiberglass in there, it will hold up like mad. And I can tell that this is a good quality one. I think we should test that out though too, just to make sure. But this blade is interesting to me. A lot of spear blades kind of have the little concaves and like they just look a little bit more three-dimensional than this. This looks pretty flat, which I could see that being good for some game hunting, possibly.
How well do you index that?
As far as hardness goes, I believe. Let's see. I'm pretty sure SK5. It depends. So it depends on the hardening, how well it was hardened. It's going to be anywhere from 57 to 65 would be my guess on that. So 65 hardness is actually pretty decent, especially when you have a solid edge retention. But that depends completely on heat treatment. The factories all do it a little bit differently. So I think this is actually going to be pretty decent as far as hardness goes, though. So. And
then this is definitely more of a spear than a harpoon as well. People are mentioning the harpoon part.
Yes,
Ooh.
yes,
That's
cool. I completely agree, and I'm so glad someone mentioned that. I think that's awesome. Now, I'm noticing that this is a little bit shaky. That bothers me, but from what the manufacturer says, this comes in 3 pieces. So when you get this, it would come in a box of 3 pieces. You put it together. It looks like it's put together by screws. And then it says that in order to make it not be shaky like that, you put epoxy in it as well. So I mean, the only problem with that is I know a lot of people don't have epoxy sitting at home. I do, but a lot of people don't. So that would make this a very solid spear. And I also like the fact that if you're taking this in your car, you could split it up into 3 pieces again pretty easily. So, yeah.
You got someone said stab the pallet.
Okay, we'll stab a bunch of things with this thing. So I want to test this out. Let's see. I want to see what else there is on this thing. This would be great for sport throwing, fishing, or game hunting. I could definitely see that. I do like the javelin portion of it, that spike. Well, typically when you're spear fishing, you want 3 spikes at least. I've done so much survival training in the past. I have been able to spear with this type of spear before, but it definitely helps to have multiple spear spikes.
Can we see the blade again one more time?
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit more up close.
There's the blade. Now the overall length is approximately 5 feet, and it weighs approximately 3 pounds. So that's a pretty good weight. I actually like that weight. If I was to throw this, I think it would throw pretty nicely.
Behan said to cut the box to start it out.
Cut the box, okay. Like chop the box?
He just said test it on a box.
You know, honestly, that's a really good idea, Vihan. I appreciate that, bud. All right. So let's just try slicing down the box, because obviously it's going to poke through. I mean, you saw how easily that poked through. Let's try slicing down it. I got stuck on this layer right there where there's multiple boxes hooked together, but it sliced pretty well. So as far as the blade goes, it's sharp. It could be sharper. Nice thing about SK5 also is it's sharp in the, it can be sharpened. It's not the easiest metal to sharpen because it is very hard, but once you get it sharpened, that edge is going to retain for a long time. So I do like that aspect of it. I want to see this thing stab though. I mean, that actually stabbed really, really nicely in there. What I'm concerned about though is I want to see if the tip gets damaged through some good stabbing. I mean, it looks great there. That's nice. I should probably take this off so I don't hurt myself with this thing. Yeah. Dang, that thing's in there tight. And I like seeing that the blade did not bend at all up there, because that's always a big concern. If this were stainless steel, that would be a problem, because once the tip gets in there, this is thin. Look how thin that is. So when people talk about different types of steels when it comes to knives and stuff, sometimes it irks me a little bit because I'm so, I grew up with not a lot of options available. I had stainless steel, I had 3CR13. There just weren't as many different options for steels back when I was growing up, and it worked just fine. You look at old wars from back in the past, like certain steels work just fine for them. We just have it so easy nowadays because there's so many different types. The really nice thing about certain types of steels that are better quality is like this SK5, you can make it thinner. You can make it a lot thinner, and it's going to be a lot stronger than like a stainless steel. So if we were to put something this thin that was stainless steel in that and then bend it in any way, it would snap. Where this SK5 is actually going to hold up pretty nicely. So
the spearhead is impressive.
The spearhead's fairly impressive. I wish it had a different profile. I'd rather it be a little bit thicker. But when it comes to actually sport throwing, I think that's going to come in really handy. So that's nice.
Can you use the back end for anything?
Yeah. Let's test that thing.
Yeah, Jay said you should go pig hunting with it, and someone said you should stab the sword with it.
The sword is probably good.
For game hunting, this thing would be perfect, honestly, for game hunting. I mean, I like it. I could definitely see this thing coming in handy. The only thing that bothers me, I guess, is the wobbling. The tip is staying nice and sharp. The pellets actually... I just don't want to stab that. So I'm going to move this pellet a little bit because I don't want to stab her.
It's almost the perfect weight for good distance and penetration.
Yeah, 3 pounds for sure. Okay. Yeah, the tip is, you can see that it got just a little bit, like it lost its tiniest little bit of tip, that's going to happen with anything. It really is. You can take like the strongest steel in the world and hit it into like a concrete, and you're going to get a little bit of the tip dinged up. So that's holding up decent. I mean, it hasn't lost its tip completely. It's just a little bit more dull. I am curious about this section though, because nylon fiber can be good, can be bad. I think this is good nylon fiber. You guys want to move out of the way because this might break. So,
All right.
yeah, let's just try this. Yeah, no, it's holding up. This is the good nylon fiber. Yeah, because that'll hold up for a while for you.
So people did say that they would actually purchase the spear.
Yeah, okay. So
Does it come as one piece, so you put
it
it together?
comes as 3 pieces, and then you hook it together. And if you want it to be solid, then you'd add epoxy in here to make it super solid. Otherwise, if you want to just bring it camping or something, it might be better to take it apart every time you camp as a 3-piece item, and then just connect it when you're out there. It looks like it's just 4 Phillip head screws, so pretty easy to connect. I don't think there's much more to say about this. Is there anything else you guys want me to do to test this thing out? Let's try chopping with it. Let's try chopping with this side on the wing chun.
Looks like an East African Maasai spear. Maasai?
It's actually, I believe, a Colombian style spear, but it's very possible. Yeah, you know what? He's right as far as that section goes. I just don't think that has this back here.
Someone's also saying throw it.
I mean, I just in here, we don't have a lot of room to be throwing this thing, but I do think it would throw rather nicely, honestly.
I don't know if our neighbors would appreciate us going outside.
Okay, there we go. I want to try seeing if this thing's going to bend. That'll be a really good question. The only thing is when you're throwing spears, you're not going to be hitting it from certain angles, so it's kind of like a pointless thing to test. But I would like to see how strong that metal is. So let's just try chopping.
Getting out of the way.
I'm going to chop into this, then it's a little more safe. So we'll just chop into this, see how it works. Okay.
Stab the ground.
Yeah, there's no bend to it. It held up just fine, which you're never going to be slicing with this thing. That's not going to be part of it. But it didn't bend from that, so I'm actually fairly impressed. And it did put this pretty good ding in there, so that's pretty nice. But there's not much more to say about this. Do you guys have any other questions about this, or good to go?
Kind of looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, that's about it for this. But if you guys have any questions on these or any of the other weapons I showed off in this video, definitely leave them in the comments below. Make sure you guys go to the community tab and vote for all 5 of these to let us know whether we should carry them, whether they're good, or whether they're garbage. That's going to be very useful for us. If you guys like them, you'll see them show up on the site next week at some point.
The retail price for this would be $84.95?
This one was $84.95. So it seems a little bit high, but it is SK5, which whenever you go on that type of metal, like a little bit nicer metal, is going to raise the price. And I do like that. I can tell that this is a good nylon fiber, so that's going to hold up for you pretty nicely.
Thanks, Jay. He said, don't hurt your camera people.
And then everyone said, thank you for the live stream.
Awesome. But definitely check out KarateMart.com because we've got all sorts of really cool weapons on there right now. And like this video and subscribe to our channel. But until next week, we'll see you Weapons Wednesday.